Hello YouTubers, diecast collectors, it's me, the J-Man63. Today's video is all about discontinued diecast, the DD list. Well, this is kind of what I call the DD list, discontinued diecast, and this is going to be a new video series I have starting that's going to highlight some of the lines that never quite got into more production-wise, that were never really kind of overlooked in the community. And I'm going to be starting out today with none other than the Chip Foose Full Throttle line. And now I'm going to say this line had some very cool releases. You had everything from Chevelles to Camaros to Mustangs. All of these were done in Foose's style. Why does this lineup matter? Well, because Foose had was head chief of a lot of these cars. You had the orange Grandmaster, and then you had the Plymouth Cuda, had another Camaro here, and then of course we have another Mustang. And this lineup was pretty well detailed. You had some opening hoods, you had separate chrome pieces. Now, a lot of these are going for a good amount of money on eBay. Most of these can go from anywhere from between $10, $15. Some of these actually have gone upwards of $20 for one single listing I've seen before. So, yeah, these go for insane amounts of money on eBay. They're a lineup that really made a big impact, and especially when you got into things like these big hybrid scale lines. These were pretty darn cool for what they were. And everything on them opened, the hood opened, the trunk opened. If I put this down here for a sec, you can see that you had things like opening doors. And these were pretty nice for what they were. The interior, you could see that. It was pretty nicely done, even though they didn't steer in the front. These were still pretty cool models. And of course, you had not only his Autorama Riddler winner, the Impression, but you also had one of the more iconic Foose cars, the Hemisphere. And these were like really well detailed. They were almost kind of like a Jada, just with more work done on them. So why does this matter? Well, because lines like this sort of paved the way for some of the custom industry. You had things that sprung up afterwards, after this Foose line, things like the G machines. You know, you had Yatming Shine Rods, which was kind of a competitor to this. Hot Wheels kind of released their own 1/18th scale right around the same time. You know, M2 machines had released Foose cars afterwards, but it was only just after that M2 machines had done wave 1 of their Foose cars, which we can see here very clearly in my display, that M2 had done wave 1 of these, and now these are starting to kind of become worth something. And then you had some of these, which were the competitors. So everything that kind of sprung up after the Full Throttle line was kind of something that made a different market for itself. But without the Full Throttle line, a lot of this other stuff wouldn't have gotten kick-started. Full Throttle actually had some really cool stuff on the market, and now you can see these models easily fetching anywhere. This Grandmaster, the raw metal one at least, goes for $60 to $100 on eBay, depending on what listing you find that. The Hemisphere can be worth $70, $60 to $100, depending on what site, if it's signed on the roof. But why does Foose matter? Well, Foose is very timeless when it comes to his car designs, and if you know about hot rodding, you know he's won a lot of Riddler awards. You know his design work speaks for itself. and I'm just going to keep this video to about 7-8 minutes, but the reason this line matters is this had inspired a lot of different stuff. Without this lineup, Foose had designed a lot of stuff, but having a toy line done in his name was pretty darn cool. So if you can claim that you have at least a few or all of these pieces, then that's really something, because I may not have the whole collection here, but I have a vast majority of these Chip Foose pieces, and who doesn't remember his Gambler 514 that he built on overhauling? This right here is a pretty iconic car. So if you really watched overhauling, the Gambler is one of the more significant cars that he built. So we're going to be having this discussion on some discontinued diecasts a lot more often. We'll be pulling out some stuff, and we're going to talk about the 100% line. We're going to talk about things like 1/18th scale. We're going to get into more of that. So there's going to be a lot of things and a lot of subject matter we're going to be diving into. Why the 1/18th scale line kind of stopped. Quite a few different things we're going to be delving into, and I hope you guys are there for all this future content. But the main reason I can think that the Foose line probably got discontinued is, then again, there was the value of $1 thing, and the diecast market kind of had died out after, the 2000s era. There was a lot more of it readily available, but once the value of the dollar started shrinking, you saw less and less of this stuff. And the lines that are also noteworthy, the Muscle Machines 1/18th scale, this lineup, we'll be doing more focus on these next, but for right now, so why does it matter? Because it was, like I said, it was detrimental in Foose getting into diecasts. I think if this lineup hadn't have happened, I don't think a lot of the other lines from Foose would have gone out. So he got his deal with M2 machines, of course. I think we all know how that's kind of going. But why does it matter? It's just an interesting lineup because it was so diverse, and you didn't see an impression in this scale, and you would never see a hemisphere done in this scale. M2 machines is certainly not doing it, so that's why I got these two. And the only other 1/24 scale they've done is the Gambler, which I'd been pushing for M2 to do that for years. And when M2 finally came out with a 1/24 scale Gambler, I was super excited. But we had never seen a Gambler done to that scale unless it was the full Throttle line. And then M2 machines finally did the Gambler. So it was nice to see that in 1/24 scale to add to my trio of Foose cars that are larger scale. But this lineup matters to me because this is what got me into the custom cars and collecting more of this lineup, and I'm happy to have all these because these are worth quite a lot now, and they're only going to go up in value the more Chip Foose builds more hot rods and stuff, and these are like very cool. These are kind of what kickstarted my obsession with Chip Foose, so just a very cool lineup. And that's why, to me, this lineup completely matters, because it's very interesting in terms of stuff that's been discontinued. So it's very cool. Some of this stuff is worth quite a lot now. I mean, this whole collection, it could probably fetch at least $2,000 if you were to put it all up together in an auction. It's a very extensive collection of Foose memorabilia, so that's why this matters in terms of diecast. My name is the J-Man63, and this has been my discontinued diecast spotlight. I will see you guys later. Alrighty, goodbye.